I died on my daughter's first birthday, pushed down the stairs by the woman I'd paid to carry her. The last thing I saw was my husband Richard holding our baby, standing next to the surrogate Claire, both of them smiling as I tumbled backward. The last thing I heard was my daughter crying "Mama." But she wasn't reaching for me. She was reaching for Claire. My name is Catherine Walsh, and for 7 years I'd struggled with infertility. 7 years of failed IVF attempts, miscarriages, hope and devastation. When my doctor suggested surrogacy, I'd been desperate enough to agree. When my husband suggested his friend Claire as our surrogate, I'd been grateful enough not to question it. Claire was beautiful, young, and claimed she just wanted to help couples like us. She carried our daughter for 9 months and I'd loved her for it. I'd thrown her a baby shower. I'd held her hand during delivery. I'd been there for every ultrasound, every milestone. What I hadn't known was that Claire was Richard's ex-girlfriend. That he'd engineered our meeting. That the embryo Claire carried wasn't made from my eggs. She'd bribed the clinic to use her own. That they'd been planning this from the beginning. I died believing my daughter was my biological child, stolen by a surrogate. The truth was worse. She'd never been mine at all. Then I opened my eyes. I was 32 years old, sitting in Dr. Martinez's office at the fertility clinic, listening to her explain surrogacy options. Richard sat beside me holding my hand, looking concerned and supportive. And across the desk, Dr. Martinez was saying, "I have a candidate I think would be perfect. Her name is Claire Bennett." I felt my heart stop. I was back. 7 years before my death. At the exact moment everything had started. She's 25, healthy, has had 1 successful pregnancy already, Dr. Martinez continued, pulling up Claire's file on her computer. She's expressed interest in helping couples who've struggled with infertility. Can we meet her? Richard asked, his voice eager. I looked at him, my husband of 5 years, the man I'd loved desperately, the man who would betray me in the most devastating way possible. He looked genuinely concerned about our fertility struggles. His hand felt warm and reassuring in mine. But I knew the truth now. I'd lived through it once. Catherine, Dr. Martinez prompted. Would you like to meet Claire? No, I said. Richard's head whipped toward me. What? I said no. I don't want to meet her. Dr. Martinez looked surprised. Can I ask why? Her profile is excellent. I need more time to think about this, I interrupted. Surrogacy is a big decision. I'm not ready. But we've been discussing this for months, Richard said, and there was something in his voice: frustration? Impatience? You said you were ready. You said you wanted a baby. I do want a baby. But I'm not ready for surrogacy yet. Catherine, we've tried everything else, Richard pressed. IVF failed 6 times. You've had 3 miscarriages. The doctor said surrogacy is our best option. I looked at him carefully. In my original timeline, I'd been so focused on my own grief, my own desperate need for a child, that I'd never questioned Richard's sudden enthusiasm for this particular solution. I'd never wondered why he was so insistent on Claire specifically. Now I saw the calculation in his eyes, the way he was trying to manipulate me through my own pain. I want to explore adoption first, I said firmly. Adoption takes years. Then we'll wait years. Dr. Martinez cleared her throat. Why don't you both take some time to discuss this at home? There's no rush. But there was rush in Richard's eyes. Urgency. Almost panic. Of course, he said smoothly, squeezing my hand. We'll discuss it. In the car ride home, Richard was silent. I could feel tension radiating from him. Why did you change your mind? He finally asked. I didn't change my mind. I just need more time. Catherine, we're running out of time. You're 32. Your fertility window is still open, I interrupted. I'm not ancient, Richard. I didn't mean it that way. I want a family with you. I want us to be happy. I looked out the window, remembering the words he'd said as I died. I never loved you, Catherine. I only married you for your money. But I love Claire. I always have. Do you love me, Richard? I asked quietly. Of course I do. Why would you ask that? Just answer the question. Do you love me? He pulled into our driveway and turned to face me. I love you, Catherine. You're my wife. We're building a life together. That's not what I asked. Something flickered in his eyes. I don't understand what you want me to say. I want you to tell me the truth. I am telling you the truth. Do you have an ex-girlfriend named Claire? I interrupted. The color drained from his face. How did you? Who told you? So you do. Richard's jaw tightened. That was years ago. Before we met. It doesn't matter. Were you going to tell me that your perfect surrogate candidate is your ex-girlfriend? Silence. Richard, answer me. It's not what you think, he said finally. Yes, Claire and I dated briefly in college. But that was 10 years ago. She's moved on. I've moved on. When she mentioned she was interested in surrogacy, I thought, you thought you'd suggest her without mentioning your history? I didn't want to complicate things. Complicate things? I stared at him. Richard, having your ex-girlfriend carry our baby is already complicated. I was trying to help us, he insisted. Claire's a good person. She wants to help. The fact that we dated years ago doesn't change that. It changes everything, I said. And the fact that you tried to hide it makes it worse. I got out of the car and walked into our house. The house my trust fund had bought. The life my money had funded while Richard built his career, which had gone nowhere in 5 years. For the first time I was seeing our relationship clearly. That night I did something I hadn't done in my original timeline. I hired a private investigator. His name was James Chan, and he came highly recommended for discreet marital investigations. What exactly do you want me to investigate? He asked when we met at a coffee shop the next morning. My husband Richard Walsh and a woman named Claire Bennett. I want to know their relationship history, if they're currently in contact. Anything suspicious. You think they're having an affair? I think they're planning something worse. James studied my face. Okay. I'll need about 2 weeks. Take 3. Be thorough. Over the next 3 weeks I made other changes. I visited a lawyer and discussed post-nuptial agreements. I moved my trust fund into accounts only I could access. I started documenting everything: Richard's behavior, his financial habits, his schedule. And I stopped trying to get pregnant. Why aren't you taking your fertility meds? Richard asked one evening, finding the unopened prescription bottles. They're not working anyway. But the doctor said. The doctor says a lot of things. None of them have worked. So you're just giving up? I looked at him carefully. I'm taking a break. From the medications, from the stress, from all of it. What about the baby we want? What about it? Richard's face reddened. Catherine, I don't understand what's happening. You've been obsessed with having a baby for years. Now you're suddenly not interested. I'm interested in having a baby. I'm not interested in being desperate enough to make bad decisions. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm not using your ex-girlfriend as our surrogate. I told you that was years ago. I don't care when it was. The answer is no. Richard slammed his hand on the counter. You're being ridiculous. I'd never seen him lose his temper before. In our first timeline he'd always been patient, understanding, supportive, at least on the surface. Am I? I asked calmly. Yes. You're letting your insecurity ruin our chance at having a family. Or I'm protecting us from a terrible decision. By refusing the help of someone who genuinely wants to help us? By refusing to let your ex-girlfriend carry a baby in our marriage? We stared at each other, and I saw something in Richard's eyes I'd never seen before: cold calculation. He was realizing he couldn't manipulate me the way he'd planned. Fine, he said finally. We'll find a different surrogate. No. We're exploring adoption. Catherine. That's my final answer, Richard. If you can't accept that, maybe we need to discuss whether we should stay married. He looked shocked. You divorce me over this? I divorce you over a lot of things, I said quietly. But let's start with honesty. Are you in contact with Claire? No. Are you lying? Silence. Richard, I'm going to find out the truth. You can either tell me now or I can find out another way. Which would you prefer? Fine, he said through gritted teeth. Yes, we're in contact. She reached out a few months ago. We've had coffee a few times. That's all. Coffee? Yes. Just coffee. Catching up. Nothing inappropriate. How many times? I don't know. 3. 4. And you didn't think to mention this to your wife? I didn't think it mattered. Did you tell her about our fertility struggles? Richard's silence was answer enough. You told her, I said, my voice flat. You told your ex-girlfriend about our most private, painful struggle. And then you suggested she be our surrogate. I was trying to help. Get out. What? Get out of this house. Now. Catherine, you're overreacting. I'm underreacting, I interrupted. You lied to me. You're in contact with your ex-girlfriend. You shared private information about our marriage with her. And you tried to manipulate me into letting her carry our baby. Get out. Richard stared at me for a long moment. Then something changed in his expression. The mask finally dropped completely. You know what? He said coldly. Maybe I will. Maybe I'm tired of dealing with your fertility issues. Maybe I'm tired of watching you fail at the one thing women are supposed to be able to do naturally. I felt like I'd been slapped, but I kept my voice steady. There it is. Your true feelings. You want honesty? Here's honesty. I married you for your money, your family's connections, the life you could give me. I stayed because I thought we'd have kids and I could tolerate you for them. But you can't even do that, right? Then leave, I said. And take nothing with you. We'll see what the courts say about that. Actually, you'll see what our prenuptial agreement says about that. Which is nothing. You get nothing. Richard's face went pale. You're bluffing. Read it. Section 7, subsection C. In the event of divorce due to infidelity or deception, the non-deceiving party retains all assets brought into the marriage. I haven't been unfaithful. You've been emotionally unfaithful. You've been deceptive. And I have a lawyer who will make sure every judge sees it that way. You can't prove anything. Can't I? I held up my phone. You just admitted you married me for money. I recorded it. Want to try for more? Richard's hand moved toward his pocket, and I knew he was thinking about his own phone. Too late. Get out, Richard. I'll have divorce papers drawn up by tomorrow. You're making a mistake, he said, but his voice was uncertain now. The only mistake I made was marrying you. After he left, I sat alone in my house and cried not for him, but for the 7 years I'd lost in my first timeline. 7 years of loving a man who'd never loved me. 7 years of desperately trying to have a child with someone who'd been planning to steal everything from me. This time would be different. James Chun called me 2 days later. You need to see this, he said. We met at his office. He handed me a folder filled with photos, phone records, bank statements. Richard Walsh and Claire Bennett have been in a relationship for the past 6 months, James said. They're careful, different hotels, cash transactions, burner phones. But they got sloppy a few times. I looked through the photos. Richard and Claire kissing in a parking garage. Entering a hotel together. Leaving an apartment building at dawn. There's more, James continued. Claire Bennett isn't just Richard's ex-girlfriend. She's his common-law wife. I looked up sharply. What? They lived together for 3 years in Colorado before Richard moved here and met you. Colorado recognizes common-law marriage. Legally they're married. Which means your marriage to Richard might not be legal. He never divorced Claire. I sat back stunned. In my original timeline I'd never known. I died thinking Richard was my legal husband, that the betrayal was emotional rather than legal. Does Claire know about me? I asked. Oh, she knows. Look at this. James showed me text messages he'd recovered. Claire to Richard. Is your rich wife buying the surrogacy plan yet? Richard to Claire. She's hesitating. Keep pushing from your end. Claire to Richard. Once I'm pregnant with her baby, we can move forward with phase 2. Richard to Claire. Perfect. A year after birth, we'll have everything, her money, my inheritance from our daughter, and legal custody. You're brilliant. I felt sick. They'd been planning to get me pregnant with what I thought was my biological child, then claim I was an unfit mother. They'd take my daughter, my money, everything. There's one more thing, James said. Claire Bennett works at the fertility clinic. She's a nursing assistant. She works there. I thought about all my failed IVF attempts. 7 years of failures. James, is it possible she sabotaged my fertility treatments? I'd need medical records to prove it, but... He pulled out another document. Claire transferred to Dr. Martinez's practice 5 years ago. Your IVF success rate was 60% before then. It dropped to 0 after her arrival. She was making sure I'd never get pregnant naturally, I whispered. So I'd need a surrogate. So I'd need her. That's my assessment. I looked at all the evidence spread across the desk. In my original timeline, I'd walked into this trap completely blind. I died thinking I was the failure, that my body had betrayed me, that I'd been lucky to find Richard and Claire. Now I knew the truth. What do you want to do with this information? James asked. I want to destroy them, I said. Legally, completely, and thoroughly. My lawyer's name was Patricia Morrison, and she was ruthless. This is a criminal case, she said after reviewing the evidence. Fraud, bigamy, conspiracy, possibly medical malpractice. You don't need a divorce lawyer. You need a prosecutor. Can we get both? Patricia smiled. Absolutely. We went to the police first. Detective Sarah Williams listened to everything, reviewed the evidence, and immediately opened an investigation. This is bigger than just your case, she said. If Claire Bennett has been sabotaging fertility treatments, there might be other victims. We need to move carefully. How long will the investigation take? Weeks, maybe months. We need to build an airtight case. Richard will run if he knows we're investigating. Then we don't tell him. Yet. I went home that night to an empty house. Richard had been staying at a hotel since I'd kicked him out. He tried calling, texting, showing up, but I'd blocked all contact. Now I called him. Catherine. He sounded surprised. Hopeful. We need to talk. I'm so glad you called. I've been thinking about everything and you're right. I should have been honest about Claire from the beginning. Meet me at Parker's Cafe tomorrow at 2 p.m. Of course. I'll be there. I hung up and called Detective Williams. I'm meeting Richard tomorrow. I'll wear a wire. The next day, I sat in Parker's Cafe with a recording device hidden in my purse, waiting for Richard to incriminate himself. He arrived exactly on time, looking tired but hopeful. Catherine, thank you for meeting me. I've been thinking about everything you said. I lied. About how I was overreacting. You were upset. I understand. And maybe you're right. Maybe I should consider Claire as our surrogate. Richard's face lit up. Really? But I have questions first. Be honest with me, Richard. Do you still have feelings for Claire? No. God, no. She's just a friend who wants to help. I need you to be completely honest. I can't move forward if there are lies between us. Richard reached across the table and took my hand. Catherine, I promise you there's nothing between Claire and me. We're ancient history. She's moved on, I've moved on. This is purely about helping us have the family we want. And if we use her as our surrogate, what happens after the baby is born? What do you mean? Will she want to be involved in our child's life? No, of course not. That's what the contract is for. She'll carry the baby, deliver, and then step away. You're sure? I'm positive. Claire just wants to help couples like us. She's not interested in being a mother. I nodded slowly. Okay. Let's do it. Really? Really? Set up a meeting with Claire. Let's move forward. Richard pulled me into a hug. You won't regret this. I promise. But I could feel his heart racing. Could sense his excitement. Not at becoming a father, but at his plan finally working. After he left, Detective Williams appeared at my table. Got everything? Every word. He's lying about their relationship. Lying about Claire's intentions. That's fraud. Is it enough? Combined with everything else? Yes. We're ready to move. The next week, Richard called to say Claire was excited to meet me officially. We scheduled dinner at an expensive restaurant, Richard's choice, paid for with my credit card. I arrived early and sat down with my back to the entrance. When Richard and Claire walked in, I heard them before I saw them. Remember, you need to be sweet and grateful, Richard was saying. Make her feel like she's doing you a favor. I know how to play her, Claire replied. I've been playing her for 5 years. They walked around the table and saw me sitting there, phone recording their conversation. Claire's face went white. Richard's went red. Catherine. Sit down, I said calmly. Both of you. You recorded us, Richard said. I've recorded a lot of things. Sit down. They sat. Claire was shaking. Richard was calculating. You need to understand, he started. I understand everything. You're still legally married to Claire. You're a bigamist. Claire works at the fertility clinic where I've been failing to get pregnant for 5 years. You've both been planning to steal my money, my home, and a baby you were going to claim was mine but wasn't. You can't prove. I can prove all of it. I have 6 months of evidence. Phone records. Financial transactions. Witness statements. Medical records showing Claire had access to my fertility treatments. Text messages between you two planning everything. Claire started crying. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It was Richard's idea. Shut up, Richard snapped. No, I'm not going to shut up. Claire turned to me, tears streaming down her face. He told me you were rich and cruel. He said you were keeping him prisoner in a loveless marriage. He said if we didn't get your money, we'd never survive. He made me believe. I said shut up. Richard grabbed her arm hard enough to leave marks. Don't touch her, I said coldly. You don't get to tell me. Detective Williams? Called out. Detective Williams appeared from the bar area where she'd been waiting. 2 uniformed officers followed her. Richard Walsh and Claire Bennett, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, bigamy, and obstruction of medical care. Richard lunged toward me, but the officers grabbed him. You bitch. You can't do this. I already did. As they led him away in handcuffs, Claire turned back to me. I really am sorry. I know you won't believe me, but I didn't want it to go this far. I loved him. And I believed his lies. You sabotaged my fertility treatments, I said. For 5 years you made sure I couldn't have a baby. That's not love. That's cruelty. I know, she whispered. I know. As they took her away, I sat alone at the table and ordered dinner. The most expensive item on the menu. On Richard's credit card, which I'd kept. A small revenge but satisfying. The trial took 6 months. In that time I learned even more horrifying details. Claire had indeed sabotaged my fertility treatments, administering wrong medications, accidentally contaminating samples, even once deliberately causing a miscarriage through medication she'd given me. Richard had been planning this for years. He'd researched wealthy women in the area, found me, engineered our meeting, and courted me specifically for my trust fund. When he'd realized I wanted children desperately, he'd brought Claire into the plan. She'd deliberately gotten a job at my fertility clinic to ensure I'd never succeed naturally. The plan had been to use Claire as a surrogate with her own eggs, my husband's sperm, and make me believe the baby was biologically mine. Then, after a year of bonding, they'd claim I was mentally unstable and fight for custody. With me deemed unfit, Richard would get sole custody and control of my trust fund set aside for my children. 23 other women came forward during the investigation. Women whose fertility treatments had mysteriously failed after Claire joined the clinic. Women who'd suffered unexplained miscarriages. Women who'd been driven to desperation just like I had been. Claire testified against Richard in exchange for a reduced sentence. She admitted everything: the sabotage, the manipulation, the plan. She claimed Richard had controlled her, threatened her, made her believe she had no choice. The jury didn't believe her. Richard was sentenced to 15 years for fraud, bigamy, conspiracy, and assault. Claire got 12 years for medical malpractice, conspiracy, and obstruction. At sentencing, Richard looked at me with pure hatred. I should have killed you when I had the chance, he said. The judge added another 2 years for threatening a witness. As they led him away, I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just exhaustion. My lawyer Patricia found me in the hallway after. You won, she said. Did I? You got justice. You protected yourself. You saved 23 other women from the same fate. But I still don't have a child. Patricia was quiet for a moment. There are other ways to build a family. She was right. 6 months after the trial, I attended an adoption orientation session. The room was full of hopeful couples, all wanting to start families. I was the only single person there. The social worker Maria Rodriguez noticed. Are you here alone? Yes. My marriage. It didn't work out. But I still want to be a mother. Single-parent adoption is definitely possible. Let's talk after the session. An hour later, Maria and I sat in her office discussing my options. I'll be honest, she said. Single-parent adoptions can be challenging. Many birth mothers prefer couples. But you have stability, financial security, and clearly genuine desire to parent. You'll make a strong candidate. How long does it typically take? It varies. Could be months, could be years. Are you prepared for that wait? I thought about the 7 years I'd spent in my original timeline desperately trying to get pregnant. The 7 years of treatments and heartbreak and hope. I can wait, I said. The home study process took 3 months. They interviewed me extensively, inspected my home, ran background checks, reviewed my finances. You're approved, Maria told me with a smile. Now we wait for a match. The call came 4 months later. Catherine, I have a situation. A teenage mother, 16 years old. She's due in 6 weeks. She chose you specifically. She chose me? Why? She read your profile. She said she wanted her daughter to go to a mother who understood what it meant to fight for your family. Her daughter. Yes. It's a girl. I sat down heavily. A daughter. The daughter I'd never had in my original timeline. When can I meet her? The birth mother's name was Sophie. She was 16, terrified and brave beyond measure. I want her to have everything I can't give her, Sophie told me when we met. A stable home. Good education. A mother who'll love her. I will, I promised. I'll love her with everything I have. My mom wants me to keep her. Says giving her up is wrong. But I'm 16. I'm not ready to be a mother. Is that selfish? That's one of the most selfless decisions anyone can make. Sophie started crying. Will you tell her about me? When she's older. Of course. She'll know you loved her enough to give her the best possible life. 6 weeks later, I was in the delivery room when Sophie gave birth to a perfect, healthy baby girl. Do you want to hold her? The nurse asked Sophie. Sophie shook her head, tears streaming down her face. Give her to Catherine. She's her mother now. They placed the baby in my arms, and I fell in love instantly. Completely. Overwhelmingly. Hi, I whispered. Hi, sweet girl. I'm your mama. I'm going to love you forever. I named her Hope, because that's what she represented. Hope that good things can come from terrible situations. Hope that families can be built in unexpected ways. Hope that I could have the life I'd always wanted, just not the way I'd planned. 3 years after Hope came home, Maria called again. I have another situation. A baby boy born addicted to drugs. His mother can't care for him. He'll need extensive medical care and therapy. It's going to be hard, Catherine. Are you interested? Yes, I said immediately. When can I meet him? His name was Oliver, and he was 2 months old, tiny and fragile and fighting so hard to live. Are you sure? The nurse asked when I held him for the first time. He's going to have challenges. Developmental delays. Medical complications. This isn't an easy adoption. I'm sure. Oliver came home 3 months later. The first year was brutal, sleepless nights, hospital visits, specialist therapy. But slowly he got stronger. The tremors decreased. He started meeting milestones. He smiled. And he was mine. By the time I was 40, I had 3 children. Hope was 7, Oliver was 4. And I just adopted Emma, a 5-year-old from foster care whose mother had died and whose father was in prison. People ask me all the time why I adopted instead of using a surrogate or donor eggs. Because this was how I was meant to build my family, I'd say. These are my children. Not because they grew in my body, but because they grew in my heart. 10 years after Richard's conviction, I received a letter from him in prison. Catherine, I've had a lot of time to think. I'm sorry for what I did. I was greedy, selfish, and cruel. You didn't deserve any of it. I've seen photos of you with your adopted kids. You look happy. Good. You deserve happiness. I hope someday you can forgive me. Richard. I read it once, then threw it away. Some things aren't worth forgiving. 5 years later, Claire was released on parole. She sent me a letter too. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I really am sorry. Being in prison taught me that the person I became, the person who could hurt women struggling with infertility, that wasn't who I wanted to be. I got a degree in prison. Social work. I want to help women now, not hurt them. I want to make amends. I hope you and your children are well. Claire. This letter I kept. Not because I forgave her, but because it represented closure. When Hope turned 16, she asked about her birth mother. Her name was Sophie. She was 16 when she had you, and she loved you enough to give you a better life than she could provide. Do you know where she is? I do. She's a nurse now. Married. Has 2 kids. If you want to meet her, we can arrange it. Hope thought about it for a long time. Not yet. But someday. I want her to know I'm happy. That she made the right choice. You can tell her that in a letter if you want. I have her contact information. Hope wrote the letter that night. Sophie wrote back immediately, tears blotting the ink. Thank you for loving her. Thank you for being the mother I couldn't be. Thank you for making my hardest choice worth it. When I was 50, Hope graduated from college with honors. Oliver had just started his sophomore year, thriving despite his difficult start. Emma was preparing for law school, determined to help children in foster care. At Hope's graduation party, she gave a speech. My mom always says that family isn't about biology. It's about choice. She chose to adopt me. She chose to love me. She chose to fight for me every single day. That's what makes her my mother. Not genetics. Not pregnancy. Choice. Love. Commitment. I cried through the entire speech. That night, Oliver found me on the porch. You okay, Mom? I'm perfect. You're crying. Happy tears. Oliver sat down beside me. At 21, he was tall, healthy. Nothing like the fragile baby I'd brought home. I never thanked you, he said. For what? For choosing me. For keeping me even though I was sick and expensive and difficult. For not giving up. Oliver. The nurse told me years ago that lots of people passed on adopting me because of my medical issues. But you said yes immediately. Why? I thought about my 2 timelines, the one where I'd been desperate for a biological child, and the one where I'd learned that biology didn't matter. Because you were meant to be my son, I said simply. Not despite your challenges. Just because you were you. I'm glad you're my mom. I'm glad you're my son. 25 years after I'd walked away from Richard and Claire's plan, I was 57 years old and sitting in a coffee shop when a woman approached my table. Catherine Walsh. I looked up. The woman was in her 40s, thin, tired-looking. Yes. I'm Claire Bennett. My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. Can I sit down? She asked. Why are you here? I saw on social media that you were in town for a conference. I wanted to, I don't know, talk to you. Apologize in person. Ask for forgiveness, even though I don't deserve it. I studied her face. She looked nothing like the beautiful 25-year-old who'd plotted to destroy my life. Prison had aged her. Regret had worn her down. Sit, I said finally. Claire sat, her hands shaking. Thank you. What do you want, Claire? I want to tell you I'm sorry. I know I said it in the letter, but I needed to say it to your face. What I did was unforgivable. I hurt you in the worst possible way. I hurt 23 other women. I destroyed lives because I was weak and stupid and thought I was in love. Were you? In love with Richard? I thought I was. But it wasn't love. It was obsession, control, fear. He made me believe I needed him. That without him I was nothing. You were always something, Claire. You just chose to be the wrong thing. Claire nodded, tears streaming down her face. I chose wrong every single day for 5 years. And I've paid for it. But that doesn't fix what I broke. No, it doesn't. I want you to know that I've been working as a victim advocate, helping women who've been manipulated in relationships, trying to prevent other women from making my mistakes. That's good, I said. But it doesn't change what you did. I know. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. That your life, your strength, it taught me something. You didn't let us destroy you. You built something beautiful instead. I looked at this broken woman across from me and felt something I hadn't expected, pity. Claire, I'm not going to tell you I forgive you. I'm not going to say we can be friends or that what you did is okay. It's not okay. It will never be okay. I know. But, I continued, I hope you find peace. I hope you become the person you're trying to be. Not for me but for yourself. And for the women you help now. Claire wiped her eyes. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Do you ever think about what might have been? If you'd had the biological child you wanted. I thought about Hope, Oliver, and Emma. About the 3 children who'd made me a mother in ways I'd never imagined. No, I said honestly. Because if I'd had that biological child, I wouldn't have my 3 kids. And I can't imagine my life without them. They're lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them. Claire stood to leave. Thank you for talking to me. I don't expect anything from you. I just needed to look you in the eye and tell you I'm sorry. Claire? One more thing. Yes. Richard contacted you, didn't he? After he got out of prison. Her face went pale. How did you know? Because men like Richard never change. What did he want? He wanted me to help him. Said we could try again, get your money somehow. Said you owed us. What did you tell him? I told him to never contact me again. That I'd done enough damage. That I was done being his puppet. Good. That's growth. After Claire left, I sat alone with my coffee and thought about the strange mathematics of second chances. In my first timeline, Richard and Claire had won. They'd stolen my money, my child, my life. I died believing I was a failure. In this timeline, they'd both gone to prison. I'd built a family. I'd found happiness. But looking at Claire's broken face, I realized something. There were no winners in betrayal. Only different degrees of loss. I'd lost time and trust. But I'd gained wisdom and children. They'd lost freedom and dignity. And gained nothing. The difference was that I'd chosen to build something from my loss. They'd chosen to destroy themselves further. That evening, I video called my kids for our weekly family chat. Mom! Emma waved from her law school dorm. Guess what? I got the internship at the Children's Advocacy Center. That's wonderful, sweetheart. Oliver appeared on screen from his apartment. And I just got promoted at work. Assistant physical therapist now. I'm so proud of you. Hope joined from her hospital where she was doing her residency. Sorry I'm late. Crazy day. But I have news too. I'm getting married. What? Emma and Oliver shouted simultaneously. Hope laughed. I know. I wanted to tell you all together. His name is David. He's a teacher. You'll love him. I felt tears streaming down my face. I'm so happy for you, Hope. Will you help me plan the wedding? Of course. After we hung up, I sat in my hotel room thinking about the family I'd built. 3 children, none of them biologically mine. All of them completely, perfectly mine. This was the family I was meant to have. Not the one I desperately tried to force in my first timeline. But this one, built on choice and love and determination. 5 years later, I was 62 when I received a call from Detective Williams. Catherine, I have news. Richard died in prison yesterday. Heart attack. I felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, no sadness. Thank you for letting me know. There's something else. He left a letter for you. The prison is sending it. The letter arrived 3 days later. Catherine, I'm dying. The doctors say I have maybe a week. I wanted to write this before I go. You were right about everything. I did marry you for money. I never loved you. I used you and planned to destroy you. But watching you from prison, seeing photos of you with your adopted kids, reading about your advocacy work for adoptive families, seeing you succeed and thrive, I realized something. I destroyed my own life. Not you. Me. You could have been bitter. You could have given up. You could have let what I did define you. Instead, you built something beautiful. I'm dying alone in prison with nothing. You're living free with everything that matters. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that in the end you won. Not by destroying me, I did that myself. But by becoming someone worth admiring. I'm sorry for the years I stole from you. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I'm sorry for being a man so broken that I couldn't recognize love when it was offered freely. I hope your children know how lucky they are. Richard. I read the letter 3 times, then filed it away in a drawer. Not to forget, but to remember how far I'd come. That weekend, Hope's wedding was everything a wedding should be. Joyful, loving, authentic. She wore my grandmother's dress. Oliver walked her down the aisle. Emma was her maid of honor. During the reception, Hope gave a speech. I want to thank my mom. Not my birth mom, though I love and appreciate her too. But my mom. Catherine Walsh. The woman who chose to love me when she didn't have to. The woman who showed me that family isn't about blood. It's about showing up. It's about choosing each other every single day. It's about loving someone not because you have to, but because you want to. Mom, thank you for wanting me. For wanting all of us. We're who we are because of you. I ugly cried through the entire speech. That night as I lay in bed I thought about both my lives. In my first life I died at 39 alone, betrayed, believing I was a failure. In this life I was 62, surrounded by family, building a legacy, living with purpose. The difference? I'd learned to recognize betrayal before it destroyed me. I'd learned to build family in unexpected ways. I'd learned that love isn't about biology, it's about choice. 10 years later I was 72 when Emma called. Mom, I have news. I'm adopting. You are. A sibling group. 3 kids. Ages 6, 8, and 10. Their parents died in a car accident. No other family. They're about to be split up into different foster homes. Oh, Emma. I know it's crazy. I'm single. I'm busy. But I keep thinking about our family. How you chose us. How that choice changed everything. I want to do that for these kids. Then do it. And I'll help however I can. You're not going to tell me I'm crazy? You're not crazy. You're continuing a legacy. Emma adopted all 3 children. Suddenly I had 6 grandchildren, Hope's 2 biological kids, and Emma's 3 adopted children. Oliver had decided not to have children, content being the favorite uncle. At 75 I was diagnosed with cancer. Stage 4. 6 months, maybe a year. My children rallied around me. We'll fight this, Hope said. We'll get the best treatment, Oliver insisted. You're not going anywhere, Emma declared. But I knew better. I'd been given a second chance at life. I'd lived it fully. I'd built something beautiful. I'd loved and been loved. I was ready. 3 months later, I gathered my children around my bed. I need to tell you something. A story about 2 lives. Mom, you should rest. No. I need to tell you this while I still can. And I told them everything. About dying at 39 in another timeline. About Richard and Claire's betrayal. About being reborn at the IVF clinic. About choosing differently the second time. They listened in stunned silence. So you knew, Hope finally said. You knew Richard would betray you. Yes. And you walked away to protect yourself. Yes. And that's why you adopted us, Oliver said slowly. Not as a backup plan, but as the plan. The right plan. Exactly. Emma was crying. You saved yourself. And in saving yourself, you saved us. You saved me, I corrected. You 3 gave me purpose. Gave me a reason to build something beautiful from ashes. Mom, Hope said, do you believe in fate? I believe in choices. In my first life I made desperate choices out of pain. In this life I made powerful choices out of wisdom. That's not fate. That's growth. Do you have any regrets? Oliver asked. I looked at my 3 children, the ones I'd chosen who'd chosen me back, and smiled. Not one. 2 weeks later on a quiet Tuesday morning I died. My funeral was packed. Hope, Oliver, and Emma spoke. My 6 grandchildren shared memories. Former clients from the adoptive family advocacy group I'd founded for the last 20 years told stories. But the eulogy that mattered most came from Hope. My mom always said that family is built on choice. That love isn't about obligation. It's about deciding every single day to show up for each other. She chose us. 3 kids who needed a mother. And she didn't choose us as a consolation prize for not having biological children. She chose us because we were meant to be hers. But more importantly, she taught us to choose ourselves. To recognize when something or someone is toxic. To walk away from betrayal. To build something beautiful from pain. In her first life, yes, she told us about that. She died believing she was a failure. That her inability to have biological children made her less than. In this life, she died knowing she built a legacy. 3 children. 6 grandchildren. Hundreds of families she'd helped through her advocacy work. Countless women she'd inspired to choose themselves. My mom didn't just survive betrayal. She transformed it into purpose. And that's what I want everyone to remember. Not that she was betrayed. Not that she was hurt. But that she chose to build something beautiful anyway. That's her legacy. That's what we'll carry forward. Thank you, Mom, for choosing us, for showing us what real love looks like, for teaching us that family isn't about blood, it's about showing up. We'll miss you every day, but we'll honor you by living the way you taught us, with courage, with wisdom, and with love that's chosen, not obligated. After my funeral, my children gathered at my house to go through my things. In my desk drawer, they found a letter I'd written years earlier. My dearest Hope, Oliver, and Emma, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope I went peacefully, surrounded by the family I chose and who chose me. I want you to know something. In another life, I died believing I was a failure, believing that not having biological children made me less than complete. But in this life, I learned the truth. Family isn't about biology. It's about choice. It's about love. It's about showing up. You three were my second chance. Not my consolation prize. My purpose. Every day with you was a gift. Every milestone, every challenge, every moment. It was exactly what I needed. I hope you know how much you were wanted, how much you were loved, how much you mattered. And I hope you carry forward the lesson I learned, that the family you choose is just as valid, just as real, just as powerful as the family you're born into. Maybe more so, because chosen love requires courage. It requires commitment. It requires showing up even when it's hard. Thank you for showing up for me. Thank you for letting me show up for you. Thank you for being my children, my purpose, my second chance. I love you more than biology could ever express. Forever your mother, Catherine. They read it together, crying, holding each other. She really did get a second chance, Emma said. We all did, Oliver replied. And she made the most of it, Hope added. That night, Hope called her birth mother Sophie. I need to tell you something, Hope said. My mom passed away. Oh honey, I'm so sorry. No, listen. I need you to know something. You made the right choice, giving me to her. She loved me so completely. She gave me everything. And because you were brave enough to choose what was best for me, I got to have the most incredible mother. So thank you. Thank you for loving me enough to let me go. Thank you for giving me to her. Thank you for making the hardest choice so I could have the best life. You gave me life. But she gave me everything else. Sophie was crying on the other end of the line. That's all I ever wanted. For you to be loved. To be happy. I was. Because of both of you. 5 years after my death, Emma published a book about our family story. Changed names but real events. The family we choose. One woman's journey from betrayal to building a legacy. It became a bestseller. Not because of the betrayal, though that was shocking enough, but because of what came after. The book's final chapter was titled, The Legacy of Chosen Love. Emma wrote, My mother died at 75, surrounded by the family she built. 3 adopted children. 6 grandchildren. Hundreds of families she'd helped through her advocacy work. But her real legacy isn't in numbers. It's in the truth she lived. That family isn't about biology. It's about choice. It's about love. It's about showing up. She could have let betrayal destroy her. Could have spent her second chance seeking revenge. Could have become bitter and closed off. Instead, she built something beautiful. She showed us that survival isn't just about getting through trauma. It's about transforming it, using it, building from it. She showed us that motherhood isn't about pregnancy. It's about love, commitment, choosing to show up every single day. And she showed us that second chances aren't about do-overs. They're about doing differently, better, with wisdom earned through pain. That's my mother's legacy. Not the betrayal she survived. Not the family she lost. But the family she built. The love she chose. The life she created from ashes. And that legacy lives on in every adoptive family who reads this story and feels seen. In every woman who recognizes betrayal and walks away. In every person who chooses to build something beautiful from pain. My mother's name was Catherine Walsh. She lived 2 lives, one that ended in tragedy, one that ended in triumph. The difference was choice, wisdom, courage, and love. Always love. That's what I want people to remember. Not how she died in her first life, but how she lived in her second. With purpose, with power, with love that was chosen, not obligated. That's the legacy of a woman who got a second chance and used it to change not just her own life, but the lives of everyone she touched. That's my mother. And I'm proud to be her daughter. Not by biology, but by choice. The best kind of family there is. The book ended with photos of our family. Hope's wedding. Oliver's graduation. Emma's adoption day with her 3 kids. All 6 grandchildren together. And in the center, a photo of me surrounded by my children, all of us laughing. The caption read, "Family. Built by choice, sustained by love, defined by showing up." 10 years after my death, Hope's daughter, my oldest grandchild, turned 16. She'd been named Catherine after me. For her 16th birthday, Hope gave her a box. "This was from your grandmother. She left it for you." Young Catherine opened the box. Inside was a letter and a necklace, the one I'd worn every day. The letter read, "Dear Catherine, you're named after me, which means you carry a legacy. Not a burden, a gift. I want you to know something about your great-grandmother, your grandmother, and me. We all learn the same lesson, just in different ways. Family is what you choose. Love is what you build. Legacy is what you leave. I got a second chance at life. I used it to build a family that wasn't biological but was absolutely real. Your grandmother Hope was my first choice. The daughter I chose before I even met her. And she changed everything. You are the result of that choice. The legacy of chosen love. I won't be there to see you grow up. But I want you to carry this forward. You don't need biology to be family. You don't need perfection to be worthy. You don't need anyone's validation to build something beautiful. You just need courage, choice, and love. That's all I had. And it was enough to build this legacy you're part of. So carry it forward. Choose your family. Choose your love. Choose yourself. That's the greatest gift I can give you. All my love from both my lives, your great-grandmother Catherine." Young Catherine clutched the letter and cried. "She never even met me," she said. "She didn't have to," Hope replied. "She knew you'd exist. That was enough. She built a family that would continue long after she was gone. That's what legacy means. I want to be like her. Then choose courageously. Love intentionally. Build something beautiful. That's what she did. That's what you can do." 25 years after my death, on what would have been my 100th birthday, my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren gathered at my grave. 16 people. All descended from the 3 children I'd chosen. Emma spoke for everyone. "We're here to celebrate Catherine Walsh. Mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, survivor, builder, chooser of family. She lived 2 lives. In the first, she was betrayed and died believing she was a failure. In the second, she was betrayed and chose to build something beautiful anyway. The difference wasn't luck. It wasn't fate. It was choice, wisdom, courage. She taught us that family isn't about blood, that love isn't about obligation, that legacy isn't about what you're given, but what you build. And look what she built." Emma gestured to the gathered family. 16 of us. All here because one woman chose differently. All here because she recognized betrayal and walked away. All here because she learned that motherhood isn't about biology. It's about love. She didn't just survive. She thrived. She transformed betrayal into purpose, pain into legacy, loss into love. That's what we celebrate today. Not just her life, but what her life created, what her choices made possible. This family, this love, this legacy, all of it started with one woman who got a second chance and used it to change everything. Thank you, Catherine Walsh, for choosing us, for teaching us, for showing us what real love looks like. Your legacy lives on in every one of us. They released 16 white balloons, one for each family member. And as the balloons floated up into the sky, Hope whispered, "Thank you, Mom, for everything." Epilogue. 50 years later, the Adoption Advocacy Center named after me celebrated its 50th anniversary. Emma, now 90 years old, attended with her 3 adopted children, now in their 60s, and their families. The center's current director gave a speech about my legacy, the thousands of families I'd helped, the lives I'd changed, the impact I'd had. Catherine Walsh built this organization from a simple belief: family is what you choose. Love is what you build. Legacy is what you leave. 50 years later, we've helped place over 10,000 children with adoptive families. We've provided support to thousands more families. We've changed legislation. We've shifted culture. All because one woman chose differently. One woman recognized betrayal, walked away, and built something beautiful. That's not just a personal story. That's a movement. That's change. That's legacy. Catherine Walsh died believing she'd lived a good second life. She had no idea just how far that second chance would reach. Her great-great-grandchildren are here today. Fifth generation of a family built on chosen love. That's the power of choosing yourself. Of building something beautiful from pain. Of refusing to let betrayal define you. Thank you, Catherine Walsh. Your second chance changed thousands of first chances. Your choice created countless families. Your legacy lives on. After the ceremony, young Catherine, the 16-year-old named after me, now 66 herself, found Emma. Aunt Emma, can I tell you something? Of course. I used to wonder if great-grandma regretted not having biological children. If she ever felt like adoption was second best. And now I know better. She didn't adopt because she couldn't have biological children. She adopted because we were meant to be her family. The right family. The perfect family. Emma smiled through tears. She said that exact thing to me once. The day before she died. She said, "You three weren't my consolation prize. You were my purpose. I wish I'd met her. You carry her legacy. That's better than meeting her. That's living her truth." Final chapter. The truth about second chances. In the end, my story isn't about betrayal. It's about choice. I could have let Richard and Claire destroy me in my second life the same way they destroyed me in my first. Instead, I chose differently. I chose to recognize betrayal before it killed me. I chose to walk away from a man who never loved me. I chose to build family in an unexpected way. I chose to transform pain into purpose. And that choice didn't just change my life. It created lives. 16 people exist because I chose Hope, Oliver, and Emma. Hundreds of families exist because I built an organization to help others choose adoption. That's the truth about second chances. They're not about erasing the past. They're about building a better future. In my first life, I died at 39, believing I was incomplete without biological children. In my second life, I died at 75, surrounded by the family I built with intention, love, and choice. Both lives were mine. Both taught me something. But only the second one taught me that the family you choose is just as real, maybe more real, than the family you're born into. Because chosen love requires courage, commitment, showing up even when it's hard. That's what I did. That's what my children did. That's what their children did. And that's my legacy. Not the betrayal I survived. Not the biological children I never had. But the family I built. The love I chose. The life I created from ashes. That's what I want people to remember. Catherine Walsh. A woman who got a second chance and used it to change everything.